Okay. Our three main influences for our trailer were Project X, skins, and visuals from the tracks that we watched on YouTube.
Right, so Project X. The titles were our main focus. Why was because they were clear, they were bold, and they didn't stick to a specific genre. And also they were really universal in the font, and they were the most interesting in terms of wording, because when we looked at the other titles we wanted to avoid it being cheesy, so we didn't want to put things that weren't really relevant to our film. So we decided to sort of stick with their titles and use it as a template with ours. One of the main things that we really liked about their titles was the Twitter hashtag at the end, which is Project X. It just gave that film that little bit more that it needed, and it just had that extra edge that we wanted on ours, and we just thought it looked really interesting to use. So we added on ours, but instead of saying Project X, we put psychedelic, and I just felt that, well, we felt that it just invited audience more, and it sort of involved them without showing them the whole film and sort of spoiling it. It just sort of showed them, you know, you can get involved with the film before you've even watched it, which we thought just looked really good. And it was something that was really easy to do as well. We just did it really quickly on live type, and it just was a lot more effective at the end of our film after our final credits.
It also looked really cool and like up-to-date. We liked their handheld shots in particular, as they made the viewing experience more interesting, realistic and edgy. We also liked how their handheld shots didn't look tacky. They looked as professional as they could. We also copied the recording button, as you can see here. We've been looking for like 2 hours. I still can't find him. And we thought that just added the extra edge that it needed, and it also basically it didn't look dodgy because it had a recording button and not just like some shaky camera.
Also, we can't really use it as like an influence, but we like the atmosphere. I don't know if that really counts as an influence, but we just like the atmosphere that the trailer created for the audience, because even though ours was a horror, we still wanted it to be fun at the beginning, to sort of show a journey in the film. So we thought that Project X's atmosphere was really, really good, and that's why we liked to include it in ours.
We really liked Project X's themes and the way they really focused on their target audience, which was the same for ours. Like they included a lot of drugs and alcohol, and that's what we sort of wanted to create to appeal to the same sort of people.
And our editing, that was also quite a lot of influence, because we liked the way that Project X used shortcuts, because we had problems at the beginning where we didn't think that it would look effective if we used shortcuts, and then it might confuse our audience. But after looking at the way that they did it, we saw that it sort of built up tension in the film and also excitement, which is what we wanted to create for ours. So we sort of used similar lengths, as you can see here. And we just thought that it looks better, because at the beginning we had really, really short cuts. They were sort of half-second long cuts, and it just made it really, really jerky to watch, and we didn't enjoy it ourselves. But yeah, we decided to follow a similar formula in terms of editing, and overall we used Project X as a skeleton for our own trailer, so it was like the basis of our trailer. And
we originally wanted to film it in a dark setting, possibly night time like Project X. We realised it wasn't possible, and we didn't have the right equipment such as lights. That was probably our biggest downfall and difference from Project X, and it taught us that we shouldn't go too out of our depth, and also saved us from almost copying the lighting that Project X used in theirs. We also toned down the party aspect, as Project X's was just images of the party. We wanted to show a journey in our trailer, and when we filmed the party and drug scenes, we just found that it didn't have the same effect due to the amount of people that we had, and also again it was the equipment.
Our last major difference from Project X that we're probably the most proud of is our music choice, because when we originally looked at Project X's music, we really liked it, but then when we tried to apply the same music to our trailer, we just thought that it sounded too upbeat, and when we watched it back, we just thought to ourselves, this isn't a horror, this doesn't look like a horror, sound like a horror. And we were quite disappointed, because I think we focused too much on what Project X were doing rather than our own. So we completely scrapped the music that we used, and we were really, really worried because we couldn't find any music that was gonna sort of work with ours. And when we were looking at visuals on YouTube in terms of like shots and stuff, we found this underwater scene. at one point we were thinking of filming underwater, and then we realised that that wasn't possible, but we were lucky enough to come across this track. Which was eerie, and I don't know, it just sort of fitted with everything that we wanted it to fit with, and it just worked with our film so much better. And even though we wanted to have a sort of upbeat track, we decided to use a more sort of like druggy sort of dubstep track later on.
Psychedelic.
So they are frequently called psychedelic.
Yeah, which is how we got the name for our film. So it was pretty much like luck, and also we found that Project X's, if you didn't really know what the film was about, you could almost mistake it for a music video, which we really didn't want to do with ours. And also they used a really well-known song, and then when we tried to use sort of well-known songs with ours, it just really didn't mix. So
And copyright.
yeah, and copyright. So we just found that that was like, even though it was a big difference, we thought it was the best one out of everything that we've done. So yeah. Right, so Skins wasn't really one of our main influences. It was sort of one that we came across by chance, because we went on to 4OD on one lesson because we were trying to look for one of the scenes in, I think it was series 3.
We looked at series 3, episode 8, and that's where we got the ideas of having the woods and the party and the drugs and people going missing, because there's a big scene in that episode of Skins where they all basically go there, get out of their heads, and bad stuff starts to happen to them. So that was our main basis of the storyline.
In terms of shots, we didn't really use that many shots from Skins, I don't think, and with music we didn't really use that much. We only really used, Skins was basically something that we came across by chance when one lesson we were just waiting for something to download onto iMovie, and it was taking like half an hour or something like that. It was taking about half an hour for it to download, so we thought we'd watch an episode of Skins, and then we ended up coming across one that we thought was really effective, and then we ended up using it as one of our main storylines. But in terms of influences for everything else, like editing, shots, sound, mise-en-scène, actually no, mise-en-scène we did use it for, but for the rest of them we didn't really use Skins as one of our main influences. So overall our main influence was Project X. As we mentioned earlier on in the video, we found like really cool visuals on YouTube, and then we ended up using some of the tracks from it as our influences. We only came across one or two, and the one that we inserted before is where we got the track from, and also the shot influences at the same time. A song called Funeral Suits, and they had like really like cool costumes on, and that's what kind of gave us the idea for like what we wanted our characters to be wearing, because we wanted them to be wearing sort of like festival clothes, and in that video that's what they had on. Also they had like quirky masks on, but we didn't really want our characters to wear that.
From Skins, all the characters are quite indie and alternative, so we made our characters dress like that as well.
Yeah, so we sort of combined the visuals from the tracks that we watched on YouTube and Skins into one, and yeah, we kind of took mise-en-scène from the YouTube ones as well. But overall our main influence was Project X. The other ones sort of just chipped in their little bits to help us create our overall thing. So in terms of differences from Skins, I think we had quite a few differences because we didn't use the same sound, we didn't use the same shots. Yeah, that was pretty much it from Skins. We didn't really have anything too similar apart from sort of like stereotypical characters. Visuals from the tracks we watched on YouTube, everything was different from that. As much as we wanted to have things like the underwater shots and have them wearing like cool masks and all this kind of stuff, we couldn't do it, it just wasn't possible. So, do you want to add anything? She doesn't want to add anything else. So overall, ours was really, really different from those two, but in terms of Project X, they were really, really similar. And yeah.